Now trimming. So clipping is moving things straight back to that gradient line. Trimming is actually doing a couple of operations. So let's do it. Control Shift, and we will start with trim curve. That's the easiest one to explain. So with trim, we'll do clip first, then we'll do a trim. So with clip curve, what we can do is hold down Control Shift, and we can go straight across this object, and basically what it does is take all of these polygons and move it straight back to that gradient line. So if we tilt our camera this way, we're going to be like, oh, there's a lot of garbage up there. What trim will do is two things. It will, so there's my gradient line. It will actually slice, make a polygroup up here, delete that polygroup, and then do a fill hole operation. And what that does is just make it very, very easy, quick and easy to just go through and trim these things down, and then you can re-Dynamesh and everything's great. If you want to make this all into one polygroup again, you can hit Control W, re-Dynamesh, smooth it out, and you can get very nice, precise shapes without having to go through the trouble of, like with clipping, undo back, like I'll do it again. If you were to clip this back and then try and Dynamesh this, see, you're going to get nasty garbage. You don't want that. So use trim where it makes sense. And same thing with the other ones. If you hold down Control Shift and double tap, you can do that. Now it does run into the issue of, this is a good example. See how it kind of isn't straight? But if you were to try to clip this, so it was like this, double tap, it'll clip it straight, but then it's going to give you a lot of that garbage stuff. So a couple different ways to do this, and actually I would probably use slice and then Dynamesh with groups. We'll get there when we get to the hard edge stuff. But if you want to do that really quickly, it's kind of a two-step process. You can hold down Control Shift, trim, and just for now we'll do this, and that'll trim it, but it'll kind of leave a little bit of that goopy overhang. And this isn't good either. So when you Dynamesh this, you get these really thin, gross surfaces here, which clip won't give you. So you can actually clean this up if you want to. Because this is a polygroup, you can Control Shift click this, mask it, so Control tap, bring everything back, Control Shift tap, invert that mask, Control tap, and now what you can do is first, let's go back to clip, you can clip curve. So if you want to clean up this goopy kind of soft line, you can go through here, and because this is unmasked, you can actually clip this back so it's nice and sharp. And then if you want to actually clip this out to fill this object, you can actually go in here, and we'll go ahead and mask this and mask this. So the only part that's unmasked is the part we want to move. And then you can do Control Shift, and instead of clipping everything back to the line, you're going to clip everything up to this line. So you're going to do invert. You're going to Control Shift tap, then Alt, and now what you did was actually Control Shift everything up to that point. Now it's a little bit of a roundabout way, and like I said, if it's on a complex shape, I would probably slice in groups. But for now, I mean, you can use that to your advantage too, and I do that sometimes too, just to do a quick cleanup. And if you want to clean this up even more, you can go in here with your H polish and just kind of polish this down, polish this up, dynamic, and then you can go through here with your clip and just clean this up a little bit more. So, interesting, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. I use it sometimes. But just, it's kind of overcoming the limitations. Some of them are really good at certain things, and when in doubt, you probably don't want to do a complex clipping or a complex trimming operation like that. Instead of doing that, what I would have done maybe is do a trim curve, and then do one trim, but it's a concave, so you don't want to do that. You would want to do, maybe clip this if you can, so Control Shift clip to get this shape. And then for something like trim, I would try and keep just mostly the straight lines because it does really well with just straight line operations. And then Dynamesh, and you're good to go. So kind of a mix between trimming and clipping to kind of get what you want. And like I said, with trim curve, if you can keep it to straight line operations, can't beat it. As soon as you get more complex than that, sometimes it has a little bit of trouble, like I showed you with the clipping cleanup. One more thing. I'm going to go all the way back to just our regular dude here, Dynamesh. Okay, so there's another thing you can do, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to go all the way back to our clipping brush. We're going to do clip curve, and you can clip this straight back, right? Another thing you can do is hold down Control Shift and then tap spacebar, and you're going to have beat radius and polygroup assigned. So polygroup's the easy one. I'll turn that on, and if you Control Shift and do that, It's like, well, it did the exact same thing as the other time, except when you turn on polygroup, you'll see, or polyframe, you'll see that these are now two separate polygroups. So if this option is off and you clip back, stays the same polygroup. With this option on, which again is just Control Shift, tap spacebar, turn that on. Now you get a polygroup. And the other one is Control Shift, spacebar, and I'll keep this one on and also do B radius. So now with B radius on, and if you just hover over it, actually it says the B radius uses brush size to establish how much of the surface will be pushed when using the clip brushes. So what that means is, depending on how large my brush size is with this option on, and I clip this back, it'll actually give me a radius the size of the inside of the brush, it looks like. So that little inner circle, it'll give me a brush radius of that size. So you can use that to your advantage. If you make it a big brush size, so hit tap S, make your brush size big, use B radius, give you a large radius around there. And if you want to use more of that, there you go. So you can use that to your advantage sometimes. I don't use it a lot, but it's there. Polygroup sometimes, whatever. So you can use polygroup and B radius while you're clipping as well to give you a little bit more control. Okay, so like I said, I didn't want to go through exhaustively every single option, and believe me, I haven't. Believe it or not, this is actually still kind of basics. But it's a lot of basics, and I understand that. So get in there, get comfortable. I'm going to give you an exercise after this just to do some caricature creature sculpts, some caricature head sculpts, and I'm going to utilize everything I've shown you up to this point to do just a basic head sculpt. But, you know, you can get a little bit fancier, and then after we do the head sculpt, we're going to get a little bit fancier with subtools. We're going to get a little bit fancier with building up base meshes. We're going to get a little bit fancier with making accessories, but it all builds one after the other. So you're always going to be calling back to these fundamental basics. So don't forget them, and keep using them. And as we get more advanced and as we do other projects, because I'm going to be using ZBrush for every project I do, so the more you know these fundamentals, the more I'll use, because I'm going to be going fast. When I'm up to the project level, I'm not going to be like, oh, remember clipping, let's go back over clipping. I am just going to start clipping, and I'm going to assume that you know where clip brushes are, how they work, best ways to use them, all that good stuff. I mean, I might tread a little bit back, but not a whole lot. So definitely use these. Pay attention and write them down if you need to, hotkeys, and then once you kind of get in there and get comfortable, it's just going to be second nature, it's going to be muscle memory, and you can start flying.